What's up, everybody? Welcome into the latest Windy City Gridiron Radio. With you, as always, your host, Robert Sablinski. And today, in the next of our season previews, we'll be looking at Foxborough, Massachusetts, and, of course, the New England Patriots. I'm pleased to be joined by one of, I guess, like a salary. I don't know. I'm not sure how to perfectly describe him. I guess a salary cap nerd, but in a good way. Brian Phillips of SB Nation's Pats Pulpit will help me preview the Patriots. There's been a little bit of drama, at least for spring, of late with them. And then the Bears-Patriots matchup, we'll get to that near the end. The two teams meet again this October, so that should be fun. Brian, what's up?
How's it going, man? I'm glad to be here. Salary cap nerd is completely fine. There's nothing not nerdy about it. It's probably the nerdiest thing about me. So, but you know, to each his own. Yeah, let's talk some football, man. I'm dying for some football. So let's get into it.
Okay, so coincidentally, then we're not really going to be talking football at the start. I think I sent you the rundown.
Yeah.
So Tom Brady, not at organized team activities for the Patriots. Rob Gronkowski, I believe, seeking a new deal, correct? Not either at organized team activities. Julian Edelman suspended for 4 games because in the words of Pro Football Weekly's Eric Edholm, it's hard grit, bro. You wouldn't understand. That's a substance that was undefined. And then there was a little drama of whether Rob Gronkowski was actually about to be traded or not traded. Depends on what you believe in the reporting. Is this just business as usual for the Patriots to get past regular offseason crap? Or is it something to be concerned about, Brian?
As long as it's not an organization crippling scandal, I'm cool with it. As long as we don't have independent investigators being tasked upon New England and vague press releases from the NFL front office regarding punishments and things of that nature. I'm cool with whatever else, whatever other off-season headlines we want to spin up. Of course, May and June, this time of year, everything is blown up to completely blown out of proportion. And there's nothing serious here. There's just some things that are, people are getting, it's going to take some time in getting used to the fact that Tom Brady actually spent a couple weeks outside of Massachusetts during the off-season schedule. People will eventually get over it and realize that a 40-year-old can take a little time off and recharge for a little bit. And with Gronk, the writing's been on the wall for him, as a top 5 weapon in the league. The guy's got to get compensated, man. And he's exercising the only leverage he knows how to exercise. Of course, Gronk and exercise go hand in hand. And they were still in minicamp last week too, and decided to take this week off, much to the chagrin of Patriots fans. But not, it's pretty much a whole lot of nothing, just like your typical offseason.
In terms of, as long as the team's performing well is what I'm gauging here. Once the regular season comes and there's no scapegoats to take away from the offseason, I'm gauging that you don't really care about what goes on in spring. I mean, you care a little bit, like in terms of the draft, but anything after that, just
right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the media is going to grasp on any story they can. The Patriots provide a good bit of them because, with them trying to keep information from getting out, obviously any information that does get out becomes a large story, obviously. And really, the whole reason this offseason has been so different in that sense is because of the fact that it hasn't been as much of us against the world mentality by the actual players like Tom and Gronk taking the time away from the team and passing up on some non-mandatory things. And so it's been a little different, but when push comes to shove and training camp comes around, everybody's going to be on the field, whether they have an extension or not. And I think we're still going to see some quality football out of them regardless. So I don't see much coming out of any of these storylines, except of course for the fact that Julian Edelman, as of right now, won't be playing for the first 4 games in September.
Brian, there was a story back on, I believe, January or February, and I think, and again, this I'm going to leave it up to your interpretation and again what you believe in the reporting from. I think that was Mike Rice, correct? Or no, that was Seth Wickersham back in January and February, and then now you have whoever reported the Gronk trade, and there was a little bit of a Kraft veto, I guess, if you can do that in the NFL. I think what I'm getting at here is there seems to be, at least from an outside perspective, you'll know better, of a bit of a Belichick and a Brady and a Kraft, Bob Kraft, the Patriots owner, a bit of a schism. Is there anything to this? And like put this on a scale of 1 to 10, your concern and just in general, what's gone on in the past year or so in New England. I mean, you saw part of that manifest in the Jimmy Garoppolo trade, where Bill Belichick didn't actually want to get rid of him, but apparently, according to that original report from ESPN.
Yeah, from my perspective, I kind of look at it from 2 different ways. I know what Patriots fans' answer is. The answer from Patriots fans is very stern, and it's, oh my God, media is just trying to craft this crazy story, and it's all unnamed sources and blah blah blah. And I really try to go against that groupthink mentality. Of course, Patriots fans, the fan base has quite the the connotation in some online circles of coming off that way. For me, I root for, I do a little more of, root for the headlines. Part of me almost wants there to be something that's cynical and something we haven't seen before. Although I don't think there's much, there really isn't much to it. When in reality, when you're looking at it, it's really just, of course, you've got people working together for 20 years, with some big egos, some big, some of the most accomplished guys in the game. Relationships don't really last this long in professional sports, and we haven't really seen one last this long and be this effective, and how they and how this relationship eventually comes to an end is what's going to be so interesting. And if it's as boring and plain as Patriots fans would make you want to believe, well, then that's just not as fun, is it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess when you've been such a consistent contender, any flair in the offseason of a team that's just, I guess, so bored winning all the time, that makes it more interesting, Brian. I'm kidding around a little bit, but
right, yeah, of course.
Let's move over to that Gronkowski deal, and I believe he has 1 year left on his contract. Off the top of my head, I did bring it up. He has 1 year left on the top of his contract. I do know actually where you stand on this, but I want you to paint both scenarios. So, in the event that the Patriots did extend Gronk, what's the positive to the scenario, and what's the pitfall? And then, what would you do within your own independent opinion after laying it out?
Yeah, well, see, I'm so pro player that I can't be trusted here, because if I'm handing out contracts to everybody. Earl Thomas, Julio Jones, Rob Gronkowski, they're all getting contracts.
Yeah.
Money, here you go. Let's figure out a way to make this. Let's figure out a way to make it happen. But realistically, there absolutely is. There's something to be said for getting Gronk some more compensation. His deal was such a large extension, and it was so long ago. It was done with 2 years. It was done 2 years early, and then an option kicked in, and we're in the final option years, which We knew when it was signed it was going to be extremely team friendly, and given how much the cap has gone up in the last 5 years, every deal from every positional group is becoming, team friendly 3 years from now. So the fact that he's still a top 5 offensive weapon in the league when he's healthy, of course. The fact that he is not earning the most money over the next 2 years in cash. He's first team All-Pro last year, which triggered the rest of his $5 million incentive tier, which the team added on last May because to help him. It was a very team-friendly thing to do, but I think that, if they wanted to go back to something like that this year, they could go back to that. But honestly, a long-term extension for Gronk and a guy with that kind of injury history would be tough.
So you're saying that Travis Kelce, the actual best tight end in the NFL, should be okay with this security, right?
Is this the chiefification of the Chicago Bears fan base right now that I'm hearing? This Matt Nagy influence creeping in?
No, because that would be me saying that Trey Burton's the best tight end in the NFL, and that's going to happen too. So eventually,
I don't know how he's going to. How is he going to outdo Adam Shaheen? I mean, there's not enough balls to go around in that offense these days.
Almost nothing I say is rooted in logic. Just let me say it, okay? Anyway, so you wouldn't give. So you're saying you wouldn't give an extension to an almost 30-year-old tight end with extensive injury issues? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
Well, if I was forced to go back to the drawing board and be pragmatic about it after, having to get over the fact that I can't just write checks to every single person who knocks on my door, as a player-friendly owner, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And that what's so interesting about the Patriots, this whole dynasty right now, is that 2019 is this trigger year where Tom Brady's contract is up, Gronk's contract is up, Julian Edelman's contract is up. And what they are going to do moving forward from all of these deals is the biggest headline that nobody's talking about because everybody's a little afraid to talk about it. And when Jimmy Garoppolo was traded away last year, obviously it was when you heard a lot of that. And now it's kind of, well, what the hell are we going to do after 2019? And, when it comes to extending a guy like Gronk, like you said, the injury history, the age, it just doesn't make sense.
Makes sense to me for as much as I'll prod you. So not to relive it, but we do have to relive it. The Patriots lost Super Bowl 52, Brian. I'm sure at this point you don't care that much because you're just you guys are in the Super Bowl every year, so it's just like you either win or lose, right?
Right. What Super Bowl are we talking about? Oh, yeah, one of those kind of deals.
Oh yeah, the most recent one, yeah. But nevertheless, the Patriots did fall to the Eagles, and and Nick Foles. We're going to get more into actual football talk after this, actual roster breakdowns or whatever else. But just as is the biggest area the Patriots need to improve in to say maybe they play the Vikings this year in the Super Bowl. They win the AFC again. What is the biggest area they need to improve in to come out on top this time around?
God, the Vikings would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
I've been blowing the interior defensive line horn all off season. It was an area of strength in the years when the Patriots won. Going back to 2016, Alan Branch was still playing at an unbelievable level on the interior. Malcolm Brown played a lot better in 2016 than he did last year. And there wasn't Jabal Sheard was still on the team in 2015, and we saw obviously getting rid of Chandler Jones really how that impacted things further down the line. Last year is when it really caught up to them, and the defensive line really didn't get much of a reboot this offseason. They added Danny Shelton, who they'll have for 1 year. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option, but he's more of, again, that plotting, two-gapping defensive tackle type, not that interior rusher. And I'm trying not to bring up Akeem Hicks.
I just said it. So getting rid of Akeem Hicks, a guy who is renowned as an all-pro defender and who is one of my sons, not my primary son, but is one of my sons.
If he's one of your sons, how am I related in this scenario then? Am I a weird, like uncle? Am I?
You're like the so you know how like families have, like your parents when you were younger, they would call like their really good friends, you'd call them uncle. So that's kind of like what you are. Like you're an uncle when you're not really related. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like the kids grow up and they don't ever really like when the kids get to be like in their 20s, they look back and they think about those people in their lives and they go, that guy was kind of creepy. He hung around a lot and he was in a lot of our family dynamic. It was a little weird.
They look back at it, but ultimately they just don't care about you anymore, and they love their they love their dad more because of the great green and orange patches. Anyway.
Yeah, and that beautiful contract, that deserved contract. I'm telling you, Akeem Hicks was awesome for us, and he, I'm glad he found a good home, and he was well appreciated.
I remember the scenario you posted to me. Would I trade Akeem Hicks for any of the championships the Patriots have won? And I still stand by the stance that I would rather the Bears earn theirs with Hicks on the roster than take any of your pity, Brian. I stand by that. So yeah,
that's where it's at right now with this offseason. The Patriots fans really haven't. I've been trying to get people on board about how they need to address the interior of that defensive line. They got absolutely steamrolled in the Super Bowl. Of course, who didn't get steamrolled by that Eagles offensive line, but the ability to get that interior pass rush is huge, especially when the Patriots just don't blitz a whole lot. We'll see if that changes a little bit more under Brian Flores, who's taking over for Matt Patricia, who's obviously in Detroit. But they added Danny Shelton, they added Adrian Claiborne from Atlanta, but still didn't. It comes back to losing Akeem Hicks and not drafting my son Maurice Hurst from Michigan. So what can you do?
You sound so mad for a team that like is in the Super Bowl every other. I get it. I know. Like there's just because like there's still things to gripe about it, but it's just funny to me. You don't know real struggle, Brian.
I'm just barely old enough to know real struggle. Just barely.
Oh yeah, right before the Brady era. I get you. Yeah.
My first game, it was in Foxborough in 1994 with Drew Bledsoe against the Lions. Lost to the Lions on a Jason Hansen field goal. So I know about loss.
That would never happen. That would never happen now. You're spoiled. Anyway,
we're off the rails. Here we go.
No, that's a normal thing for this podcast. The receivers. So we have the Edelman suspension right now. He's going to miss the first 4 games of the season. We'll see how appeals go, whatever else in that process. Brandon Cooks was also traded. Not to say that he wasn't big gauging by what I've read in articles and on the general Twitter timeline. He was kind of a disappointment, though. What is the plan here at receiver? Because right now, I mean, what you can count on is Gronk, and then even Danny Amendola left for Miami. So there's a lot of new moving parts here in the Patriots offense. What's the replacement plan like, Brian?
That is such a great question. Well, the plan was to have Julian Edelman immediately back into that X wide receiver slot role, and obviously we'll see how that works out with the suspension. But they brought in a Jordan Matthews, an extremely team-friendly deal, and of course they still have Kenny Britt that they signed to an extension, a 1-year extension last year when they brought him in during the season. I'm a Kenny Britt fan. I'd like to see his size added to the roster. It sounds like he's picking up the playbook fine. He had a hamstring tweak this past week or so, but it shouldn't be a big deal. But a lot is going to rest on the shoulders of Chris Hogan, unfortunately. Patriots Nation.
Unfortunately?
What's that?
Unfortunately? Why unfortunately?
Well, see, now it sounds as if you have traveled into a little too deep into Patriots Twitter, Robert.
On occasion, yes.
I'll tell you, Chris Hogan is in fact not very good. And that's actually something that I hope this doesn't make it into Patriots Twitter. I'm sure, I'm sure there'll be some crossover. But Chris Hogan is not good. He's a product of the Patriots system, and as blasphemous as that sounds, I don't understand why there's so much hatred towards that take of mine. But he's really he's a product of the system. He has never caught more than, I believe, 45 passes in a season 2 years ago. I mean, he was hurt for, I believe, 7 games last year. He lost snaps to Philip Dorsett last year when it was unclear if he was completely healthy or not. He had 17 yards per reception 2 years ago. But, I mean, he caught 36 passes, and he also had, there's a reason they brought Brandon Cooks in last year to be the deep threat. He's just not very good. So a lot's going to rest on his shoulders initially. Philip Dorsett, why he can't be at all versatile in his skill set, I don't understand. I don't understand why he can't learn the playbook and play the slot. He's just not very good either. But Tom will make do, in the Patriots offense will make do with what they have. Utilize the running backs they've got now with Sony and James White and Rex, and everything's going to be fine.
Well, of course it is.
It's just annoying with Chris Hogan being out there.
It's the Patriots. Of course, everything's going to be fine. That's the logic and the fortune here. I'm just playing to the crowd, Brian.
Well, no. See, no. Before we move on, I think you commented on it. The poll I had like maybe a month ago. I put out a poll on Twitter, and I said, would you rather have starting as the wide receiver 2 for the Patriots in 2018, Dez Bryant or Chris Hogan? And Chris Hogan won out 51-49, and I wanted to throw my computer in the Detroit River. I cannot believe how much people think Chris Hogan is that capable, where he outperformed Dez Bryant, regardless of where people think Dez Bryant's at.
Every fan base has the bias for their guys, Brian. Like,
I understand. I know it's bad. Who's the Bears guy?
Venture and just be like, Bears Twitter hangs more on Pro Football Focus's ratings of calling Adrian Amos an elite safety more than anyone I've ever seen. And this is a guy who has 1 reception in 3 seasons. Like, he's a perfectly fine safety. I have no problems with him as a player, but just everyone thinks he's this elite, irreplaceable guy, and he isn't. Like, he's fine. He makes tackles. He's essentially a 5th linebacker in the Bears 3-4 scheme. Like, but he's not that great. But he's the Chris Hogan of the Bears defense. Because, I mean, that's seriously what it is. It's infuriating. Everyone has that. Everyone has that person. Everyone has that person.
Well, I just can't imagine what would happen if Chris Hogan got a 92.5 PFF rating or whatever.
Oh my God!
Like,
you'd be in my boat, and then especially with the Patriots being much more consistently a contender, like yours would reign much more. Like, I imagine right now the Chris Hogan for Patriots Twitter is the same level as Adrian Amos for Bears Twitter. But you see how the Bears haven't made the playoffs since 2010, and the Patriots are a consistent contender. If Chris Hogan got a 92.5 Pro Football Focus rating, Brian, you'd delete your account. Oh
my God! No, I can see it right now. The talk is, where does Chris Hogan's upcoming contract slot in? Do we franchise tag him? Oh my God! I have to stop. We have to stop.
I find it interesting that you're not a part of Braxton Berrios' hive. I think you did just mention him slightly, but you don't think he's going to have a big role in the Patriots offense?
I don't. I think, well, so Austin Carr was the guy last year.
Right.
Out of Northwestern. Austin Carr, oh my God, preseason darling, have to find a way to make the roster. Well, no, he didn't. He was cut. It happens every year. The hot off the press guy, there's just no room for him. You know, try to squeeze him on the practice squad, somebody picks him up. I think Braxton Berrios has to beat out Riley McCarron, who is a slot guy. It's exactly the same guy. White dude playing the slot, 5'10", from Iowa. He was on the practice squad all last year for the Patriots. I think if Braxton Berrios can beat out Riley McCarron, then maybe one of those two could find their way onto the practice squad this year. But that is also I'm going to catch them.
I don't. I just. You know who the Bears like Austin Carr / Braxton Berrios is? And I just like to do this because I like to detail my trolling. You know who that is?
Who?
Brian? Tanner Gentry. I don't know if you ever saw. So I just wanted to say this publicly, not even in general because we're on like a Patriot, like because whatever podcast it was going to be. I had a sarcastic tweet last week. I think one of the Pro Football Weekly writers noted how Gentry looked fine and beat Kyle Fuller on a pass. And I sarcastically tweeted, hey, I know the Bears have Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, and Anthony Miller now, but watch out for Gentry. He's going to really show everybody the ropes. And I swear to God, anytime I tweet anything that was like that was 100% sarcastic. And I got at least 4 or 5 members of Gentry's family that's on Twitter that retweeted that and favorited it. And then like half of Bears Twitter like latched onto it. I'm like, guys, no, I wasn't being serious. He's not even gonna make the roster.
Oh no!
Immediately, I see like Brady Gentry. I see like I think his mom or girlfriend or something. Like, guys, I'm not. I didn't want to give you that false hope. He has no chance of making the roster.
No.
Yeah, but
the fans become enamored, you know, and it's hard to, you know, they have these cult followings for these guys, and every fan base is prone to it. Yeah, that's why undrafted free agents that's why it's so popular. I mean, it's obvious. Without getting a few more tangents, let's jump into free agency. We've kind of like detailed it a little bit already, but Patriots 2018 free agency class: Danny Shelton. We're gonna say free agents and trades. It's the same thing. Yeah.
March, whatever. So Danny Shelton and Jason McCourty in trades. Adrian Claiborne, solid pass rusher. Jeremy Hill, Cordarrelle Patterson, Jordan Matthews, and I pull up this link and it doesn't have the 49ers tackle. What's the name of the 49ers tackle? Trent Brown.
Yeah.
And then Trent Brown from the 49ers. So talk to me about the impact that you expect from this free agent class and who you think is going to be the most important player from the class.
You know, it's funny you brought trades into it because literally all of those are trades.
Well, I'm reading off Pats Pulpit, so.
Right. You know, and it's just funny. You know, those obviously were the biggest offseason additions, and how much Bill has gone into this mode of trading draft capital for pro personnel. And we look at why, you know, and then he goes into the draft and sheds his entire draft for 2019 for more draft capital in 2019 draft capital. And he's going to do the same exact thing. You can just see it coming because of how much teams are valuing, you know, 3rd round picks. Obviously, you know, thank you guys for the, it's a Bears 3rd round pick we got, is it not?
From
the draft trade for 2019.
Oh no, yeah, for Anthony Miller. For Anthony Miller, right? Yeah. So,
we also got I believe 4 from Detroit. So I mean, Bill can in a time when we're talking about is Earl Thomas going to get flipped for a second-round pick? How much teams are valuing this draft capital? It's definitely something to keep an eye on. Bill's definitely not done. Even it doesn't matter what time of year it is. Bill likes to pull the trigger. But I think the biggest impact signing is going to end up being Adrian Claiborne on the defensive line, just because he's got a strong bull rush. He can add a little bit of something to the pass rush on the interior on third downs, and let Trey. It lets Trey Flowers stay outside and do his thing on the outside and develop more on the edge instead of having to kick inside. Him and Dietrich Wise having to kick inside. And then Trent Brown coming in. The size of Trent Brown is alarming. The guy is 6'8", 360 pounds. It's like it's weird how big he is, and he looked like he was getting a few snaps for whatever they're worth in OTAs and minicamp at left tackle. I personally think he'll be the swing tackle, backing up Isaiah Wynn at left tackle and Cannon on the right side, but definitely a big depth piece for them to add, especially when you've got a rookie left tackle situation going on. So pretty excited about that.
So you're telling me you would have paid Nate Solder the highest paid? You would have given him the highest paid tackle contract in the league? Is that what you're saying? Like you'd go back and walk all the way back? Brian, do you have regrets?
Man, that contract was something else. I was saying it all year that it was going to be the largest contract for a lineman in NFL history, and actually the amount of people that did that agreed, people are starting to catch on how these things work now. How it's no longer about skill when you hit the market. It's about timing, and it's about necessity. It's about when you hit the market. And how much competition you have out there, and it couldn't have happened to a better guy. Nate Solder's awesome. His family's been through a ton, with his son having cancer and everything. But 62 million, I believe, 36 or 41 of it guaranteed, something like that. That's wild. That's buck wild.
I like how amicable and courteous and anyone listening can't hear it or see it. Rather, I could see it. I bet like your fist is just like trembling under the desk, like you're so mad that you didn't. Like you're putting on a good face, Brian. I totally get it.
But I'm like such an Isaiah Wynn stan. Like this is awesome. Now I'm on the crusade of Isaiah Wynn starting at left tackle and not kicking into left guard and kicking Joe Tooney on the bench and starting to trade. That's a big thing. Everybody wants Trent Brown at left tackle and Wynn to go to guard. No. I want Wynn at left tackle. That's my guy now.
They very clearly are trying to match the Bears in terms of stud Georgia players. I have to say Roquan Smith and Leonard Floyd are a little better than Isaiah Wynn and Sony Michel. And I'm definitely not biased. But so Isaiah Wynn, the first-round pick, you just noted, he's a tackle, but a lot of people have scouted him as a guard, interior offensive lineman. Sony Michel, the terrific running back from Georgia, Duke Dawson in the second-round cornerback. Then the Patriots, as you kind of just alluded to a few minutes ago, shed a lot of their third and fourth-round draft pick assets and didn't pick again until the fifth with Juwan Bentley, Christian Sam. We get to Braxton Berrios, Danny Etling, Kellen Crossan, Ryan Izzo. At this point, we're just kind of getting into names that may or may not make the roster. Obviously, the headlines here are Wynn and Michel. And you can kind of just continue into your Wynn rant that I interrupted. What kind of an impact are you expecting from both of these guys as rookies, kind of new Patriots offensive linchpins?
I am. I'm over the moon about the two picks. Obviously, if I couldn't have Mo Hurst, my son, Isaiah Wynn was my favorite guy, my favorite lineman coming out. I'm the kind of guy where I'm just starting to scratch the surface of the of draft Twitter and scouting, and really learning the ins and outs of how the process works, the draft process, and watching the Senior Bowl. I've never been down there, watching all the practices and as much as, getting as much of that content as I can. And everybody rant and raved about him. The more I went back and looked at him, the guy's just a stud. And his arms are a little short, but Dante Scarnecchia, offensive line coach for the Patriots, the guy's a wizard. And if he says he can play left tackle, I'm good with it. Obviously Sony Michel losing Dion Lewis is going to be big. It's tough to replace a guy like Dion Lewis, one of the most underrated guys in the league, any position. Dion Lewis was unbelievable last year. Sony Michel will definitely help ease that loss, and add a little something more dynamic. The guy's balance through contact and his burst is something that we haven't seen in the past. It's really exciting. The guy's going to be great, and then obviously you've got he's a perfect complement to what Rex Burkhead and James White will be able to do. Your 4-down guy like Rex Burkhead, who can even maybe even pitch in the slot a little bit. And then Duke Dawson. Everybody says he's strictly a slot corner. I haven't seen a ton of him. We'll see. It feels like a pretty standard Bill Belichick defensive back pick. He likes guys that can get up and make tackles at the line of scrimmage and can handle themselves in press coverage. So we'll see. He's gonna have a lot of competition for snaps in camp. So other than that, it was a very brutal draft weekend.
I was gonna mention with Michelle, because there's Burkhead and there's James White and there's also Jeremy Hill and then there's Mike Gillisley, who I remember you sabotaged with me with fantasy football. But we're not going to talk about that. And then and then Michelle. So where does talk to me about the hierarchy? We'll rank those 5 runners. It's a very crowded backfield in Foxborough.
Yeah, the way the Patriots do it now is they don't want one guy doing. They don't necessarily need one guy that does it all. They're parting it out and they're specializing. And we've seen a lot of that around the league. We're seeing that obviously in Chicago with Tariq Cohen is awesome, but we'll get there. With James White being the primary third down back, he's on the field just about every third down. And then they want and Rex is that crossover. I mean, the guy literally is he's a punt protector on 4th. You'll see him on third downs, and he's also really good in short yardage. Missed some games last year due to injury, but he's really good in short yardage. Gave him another contract. I believe it's a 3-year deal. I'll go back and look at it. But I think you're going to see Sony step right in, and you're going to see the battle will be Jeremy Hill and Mike Gillisley for that fourth back spot, because Brandon Bolden will make the roster as a special teams guy. You could see actually Hill and Gillisley cut to make room. There's a lot of ways they could go with it, but I think you're looking at Sony Michel getting a primary amount of the carries this year, with Rex getting I'd say maybe if Sony got 60%, you'd have probably 30% to Rex, and here and there with James White. But I'm excited to see how they mesh.
Oh man. Jeremy Hill's career, ever since that fumble in that Pittsburgh wild card, he was good for a little bit, and now he's like the 4th or 5th running back. I liked him. I don't. The funniest thing, I think the funniest thing is fan reaction to signings in April and March. Like, Jeremy Hill. Let's look at how unbelievable he was 4 years ago. Oh, yeah, we could get him back. I'm saying, a while back he was good.
Not you. I mean, Patriots fans. There was a faction of Patriots Twitter was like, "Hey, if anybody can get the most out of him, it could be Bill." It's like, come on, guys. But I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I was gonna say I should have put this in the before we got to the actual Bears and Patriots. Um, is it like it? Is it like this to the point with the Patriots fan base now, where the team can literally touch any player in any acquisition, and the fan base just will agree with Bill no matter what. And then it's guys like you that cover the team that would be like, well, no, okay, maybe he's a little wrong. Is that essentially what's happened in this era?
If I had been asked this question like a year and a half ago, I think I probably would have a different answer for you. But now, for whatever reason, no matter what, anybody that writes anything or reports on anything says, a large faction of the readership will disagree, regardless of what it is.
Really?
And yeah, I don't. It's this weird dynamic of, fake news. Everything's fake news. I don't know if that's what it is or what, but like, and especially in Patriots land, when it comes to, I think a lot of it has to do with the Seth Wickersham piece and anybody using naming names or whatever. It's immediately, if your name's not Mike Reese and if your name's not Jeff Howe from the Athletic, then we can't trust you. And then there's also like the other part of that is there's also this growing sentiment, this crazy like dark anti-Belichick sentiment crowd creeping up now because of the Malcolm Butler thing that still hasn't gone completely away. Like I knew there would be some reaction like, oh, Bill's ego's out of control or whatever, and then eventually those people would get over it. There's still a small percentage, a growing almost percentage of people that are like, well, maybe Bill's just lost it. His ego's out of control, I'm like, what? No.
Yeah.
That it literally exists, and I don't get it. So that faction is leaking into, well, let's start double checking what Bill's doing on, with these transactions, and is this in the best interest for the team? Well, what if he didn't trade Jimmy? Then he didn't have to do that transaction, and like all this craziness that I think you could probably just attribute to it being June in the offseason and we're all just desperate.
I was hoping you'd narrow it down more, but that just sounds like don't trust any parts of the Patriots fan base. It's just like a schism everywhere. So I was hoping you'd narrow it down a little better, but that puts it into some kind of clarity.
There's some dark corners, man. There's some dark corners. It's the internet. What are you gonna do?
Let's finally get to the fun part, where Matt Nagy's Bears are going 19-0, and the Patriots are merely just another stepping stone, a little mid-October stepping stone. On a serious note, 18-1, and the Bears, as I've noted in the rundown that you see, have never beaten the Brady-Belichick Patriots. This
is that so?
More than likely be their last chance at Tom Brady, unless he's playing into his mid-40s, which I don't think anyone's going to. Ryan, talk to me about what is one aspect that the Bears should be concerned with the Patriots, where the Patriots can exploit them.
That is a lovely question. So realistically, everybody knows how to beat the Patriots, right? It's if you can get pressure in Tom's face up the middle, that's always how it's going to happen. And it's not going to be a thing where you consistently dominate him throughout the game. Obviously, you need to get it to the point where you're within a score, or you're up just, maybe by a score or a field goal. And in the fourth quarter, you need to be able to get that interior pressure in the fourth quarter specifically, because that's the only way to stop those late charges that Tom makes, and because they're going to put a game plan together for the Bears defense, which I love, by the way. I love the roster and the things that they're doing outside of that safety, Adrian Amos. My God, what a talent. I think
Brian, I will hang up on this. I will hang up on this podcast anyway.
I think I think I don't know if it's just crazy June Brian talking right now, but man, I think the Bears could definitely give the Pats a game, like a serious game, and do some things on defense for that. Your son, my false nephew Akeem. And I can see it happening, and so when I look at that Bears defensive roster, I see a Patriots-y type defense with consistent corners across the board. Not spectacular, but consistent corners across the board. And obviously, Roquan Smith is going to be so freaking good. I cannot wait to see what he does. And then obviously, I believe there's a pass rusher who this pod stands for quite hard that could make things could make some noise.
I'm sorry. Did you? Brian, what's going on here?
You got me.
I'm at a loss for words. What is one area that you would be just that's the answer. You'd be concerned about with the Bears team in general against the Patriots. That you think the Patriots should be more worried about, perhaps, or something they're not considering.
Are we talking about from a defense perspective or an offense?
You can talk from either. You can talk from either side of the ball. It doesn't matter.
I mean, obviously, I talked a little bit about the defense, but if that offensive line is going to be able to dictate, especially with is James Daniels going to be locking into left guard for you guys?
Yeah, he'll be the guard. Cody Whitehair is going to be center. So
I like Daniels, man. You guys will have all the offensive weapons. There's anything you need, you've got, obviously, to be in Mitch's hands. The Patriots defense, especially earlier in the fall, they'll still be meshing. What makes me nervous is a guy like Tariq Cohen getting into space and eating Kyle Van Noy alive on a wheel route. That's just I can see it now, and I swear to God it's going to happen. I just know it. It's the worst. It's already happening in OTAs and minicamp to Kyle Van Noy. I see the tweets coming across. The wheel route beats Van Noy. Damian Williams cooked him hard last year in Miami.
Oh my God! Imagine Cohen on the same route. Oh man,
Cohen is already in the end zone right now. That's how effective it's going to be. But I mean, I don't know. I'm trying. I probably sound quite optimistic for you guys. I imagine this is coming off as pretty optimistic, but I like what you guys are doing so much that I think that it's an early game for the Patriots on the road, at the early game in the schedule, and I think it could definitely be just a really tight one.
I mean, I don't have the Bears winning the game, and then I would never pick the Bears against the Patriots, these current Patriots, in like a playoff game or a Super Bowl or anything either. But I mean, I don't think New England. I think New England's going to win. I don't think they're going to blow them out by any means. I think, it's the capacity, kind of like what you're saying. The Bears are well equipped to attack some of the Patriots' weaknesses, and the difference, in the end, is going to be that from my point of view, and again, here in your point of view, you're being nice to the Bears. Me, I'm just being honest about what the Patriots are. I think Brady's going to be within a score. He's going to have the ball last. They're going to beat the Bears, and it's going to be a competitive game. I think that's just the truth of it. I don't see the Patriots winning by 2 or 3 scores. I think the Bears are past that era. Mercifully, what would happen with John Fox on a regular basis. But, Tom is Tom, and the Bears are a young team. I don't think they're necessarily ready for that yet, for that kind of like gauntlet to go against one of the greatest of all time. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on like where you guys, where do you feel like you guys are in, if that is how it goes and it's Gostkowski as time expires to win by 2. Where are you guys at with, obviously moral victories suck and, they don't exist in the NFL, whatever, but where does that, do you see, is that looked upon now as like serious progress, like hell yeah, or is it looked at like, God, we pissed away a real opportunity?
I mean, Chicago sports columnists, a lot of like the really entrenched older guys, the ones that no one likes anyway, they're known for being contrarian. So I guarantee someone would be saying, "Oh man, we pissed a win away against the Patriots." Blah blah blah. Oh, the Nagy era is never going to get off to a good start, even though it's only 7 games in. But anyone with a reasonable take, barring some kind of Marcus Cooper play, you know what I'm talking about, the Marcus Cooper play against the Steelers?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Barring something like that, most reasonable people are going to see that as progress. Like, hey, we just took one of the best teams in the NFL down to the wire. Everyone thought, like the national perspective is, most thought this would be a blowout, and we almost beat them. Like the Bears are progressing well, and they're on the right track, but we're still we're very much still in that moral victory stage. And most would take the moral victory because that's what it would be, even if it. I mean, I know I understand those amount to nothing, but most reasonable people will take that. I'd be mad for the first. I'm going to be mad for the first 10 minutes after Gostkowski nails it at the end. But John Fox Bears would have lost by 40. The Mark Trestman Bears did lose by 40. I'm happy,
Right. Growing up, I went to like high school and college in Michigan, and that's where I live now again. I lived in Chicago from like 2010 to last August. And so I've seen like the Lions and the Bears, like the fan bases and how that like process works. And I've seen the Lions get to the moral victory stage and then just kind of just coast there for a while. And I feel like you guys, I feel like if you got off to a nice start, I feel like that process could be accelerated to the point where it's not like hot takey, like, oh, the Bears need to win this. But like, if you guys get off to like a 4-2 start next year, which I don't even know, I haven't even seen your schedule or whatever it is. But like, at what point, like next year, do you start turning the dial up on that and like start expecting like, okay, something's going on here. Like obviously everybody's playing for Matt Nagy and this is working. Like adjustment.
At what point do we turn Brian, this is a city that's famous for the super fans, the Saturday Night Live skit. So if the Bears at any point, the Bears haven't been over 500 since 2014 in week 3. So if the Bears are over 500, even before the Patriots game, like this city's thinking Super Bowl, especially with the new coach. This city, unreasonably so, but that's just what's happening. Like everybody would be drinking and will be drinking the Nagy Kool-Aid if they get anything
right
close to a great start. That's just how it works. That's
I guess from more of the perspective from like the writing community and us.
From me, okay, yeah.
Like from the guys that like we wouldn't expect, to be so easily over, or like our community.
So you're talking like the national perspective, or guys
from Bears Twitter, like the in the know Bears Twitter guys.
Oh man, I don't think most of them would buy in until like late November or December. Once like the Bears you can reasonably put the Bears in like those TV playoff graphics of in the hunt.
Or flex schedule talk.
Yeah, flex schedule talk. Like that's when it will start to get real. Anything in like September, October, most of like the, what's the word for it, curmudgeons, they wouldn't budge until there's like flex schedule talk, until there's like, it's really manifesting in the late season. I think people in general, whether here or, the in the know and the Bears Twitter have mostly become so jaded, so where that needs to happen at this point.
I get it. So that, like I asked only because it's so interesting to me, like the dynamic and like how small, like how small the faction of in the know Bears Twitter guys, or for any fan base, how small that cluster is compared to the large like listens to what is it still ESPN 1000 out there?
Yeah, it's ESPN 1000.
ESPN 1000, or and how much that influences, all of a sudden it's Bears Super Bowl talk after you're 4-2. I think that dynamic is always interesting to me for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like I said, a flex schedule in the hunt in November. That's when I take it real. That is part even slightly. And I saw this tweet arise in the past few days. I wanted to know I'm going to say my answer first, and I'm going to let you close it out, Brian. What are you unapologetically pedantic about in language? So for me personally, when someone, and I'm going to have two answers here. It's when someone says personally after like a comma after they give an opinion. For me personally, like I just said it because I wanted it as a nice segue. I know too many people on Bears Twitter. I see it across like just in general, especially reading on Twitter. Like no one really knows how. I understand tweets are a little bit different context from actual writing, but like if you're giving an opinion, you don't really have to put personally. That's almost like it's almost a verbal crutch in writing itself. And then the other really, really big one for me, and this is an actual writing. Oh man, anyone who just overuses just, like it just does not need that emphasis, Brian. It just doesn't have to happen. Like I'm doing it right now, and that's if you just read an article where someone uses just like 10 times in one paragraph, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I think you do know what as like this great emphasizer when you can just let your writing do the work for itself. Like you don't like it's such a crutch word to rely on, and it makes the writing seem so amateurish to me. I want to swear right now. I was really just about to drop an F-bomb, but it annoys me to no end. It just does not stop. It just does not stop. Anyway, I sounded really snobbish there, so let's hear your snobbish rant.
That's perfect because, now I know exactly what I'm going to start all of my replies to you on Twitter with. Personally, I just, personally just like...
All right, shut up.
Okay, so out here in Michigan, there is it's not so much a colloquialism. I never will ever be able to say that word. But it's a thing that Michiganders do where they put an S on the end of pronouns for no reason at all.
An S, you said?
An S.
Okay.
They pluralize it, but it's a pronoun and it's a singular thing they're talking about. Let me give you an example. I'm going to go down to the Kroger's, it's Kroger.
Yeah, it's Kroger. I was going to say
Kroger's. I'm going to Kroger's, or I'm going to Myers, or Burger King's.
I'm getting the sense this is one person that only says this to you, Brian. But that's just a guess.
This is a Michigan-wide epidemic. I'm telling you, it's mind-boggling. I don't understand it. I don't know where it comes from, but people do it everywhere. My stepfather's entire family does it. I don't know. It's.
Where are you at in Michigan?
I'm like north of Detroit. I'm in like Oakland County.
Ah, okay.
Regular suburban area, and I don't. Man, it's tough. It's tough to talk about.
It just does not. It boggles the mind to be able to be on Windy City Gridirons, to talk about it. It personally gets it. Personally gets it.
It's as if you were to say, I want to go on, I'm going to Twitter's to get, to talk about my pedantic rant. And if I could do an offshoot of this, it would be my salary cap nerd offshoot of this would be people that project cap space without understanding the cost of in-season expenditures, like how much a practice squad costs, or an IR cushion for guys that have to go on IR, and workout bonuses and all the nerdiest crap that you could not care about, but matters tremendously. It matters tremendously to my Excel spreadsheet. I can show you, God damn it.
I have it pulled up on my phone. Would you stop at a New Year's party?
No, you don't understand. We can't fit it in there. We have a practice squad we have to field. It's going to cost $2.24 million minimum.
Ryan, give me another beer and shut up.
Exactly. See, these are the problems of salary cap geekdom. That's how it goes.
He is Brian Phillips, and he writes for SB Nation's Patriots website, Pats Pulpit, the best Patriots source you'll find. You can follow him on Twitter at bphillips_SB. You can't miss him. He has a collage of Jimmy Garoppolo smiling and making smoldering looks as his cover. Looking at it right now, it's actually pretty remarkable.
My lost son. Come back to us, James.
That's James, not even Jimmy. James.
Arlington Heights native.
I'm not the local. I'm not the guy that fawns over local kids, Brian. You're barking up the wrong tree.
I lived just miles from his upbringing.
And you never reached out.
Well, he was in New England at the time, and we have it's tough between us.
He has a weird relationship with the former Patriots _SB, the salary cap nerd. He covers the Patriots. You get the best of every world here. Follow us on Twitter at WC Gridiron, and follow me on Twitter at Robert Zaglinski. And as always, I sign off with the same thing and everyone. Stay classy, everybody.